What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Screen Time Podcast, your new favorite movie podcast. Today, I'm joined by, on my right, we got Indiana's pride and joy, Grass Jr. himself, Michael Vincent.
Hey, how's it going?
To my left, we got your kid's favorite future dentist, Luke Robert. Down
Fucking
below
love
us, we got the chairman of the No Cussing Club, everybody's brother from another mother, Spenser Lyon.
At all.
And last, but most certainly not least, the one-man show, Dillon Rock Band Evans.
The one-man show.
How you guys doing today?
Happy
Good,
beer.
buddy.
Doing good.
All right.
On a
Dogs.
Spider-Man high, if you will.
Yeah, so you guys all okay, we're talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So you guys all watched it today, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I watched
Yeah,
it.
like
I
an
watched
hour
it
minutes
ago.
yesterday. Um
Luke's actually currently watching it on his iPad. He's
Yeah,
like-
I'm finishing it up right now.
just like opening thoughts, like honestly, like one of my favorite movies of all time. Like
yeah.
I think if you can't tell by my new poster, it's new, but I love the movie. My phone background, my desktop background are both the same picture. It's
It's iconic, man. It's a good scene.
I mean it's, yeah, we'll talk about the scene later when we get there, but it's such a good scene. The movie itself is just like, it's so beautiful, like even for a quote unquote kids movie, like it's I don't know. I'm just stuttering and talking over myself, but
Yeah.
it just I
Well,
can't put
it
into
is,
words
like-
how this movie makes me feel.
Yeah, no, because I mean it's completely different than any of the other like Spider-Man, like Marvel, like MCU movies, anything like that. It's
Yeah.
like
It's
on its
more like
own
it.
level, really.
More like a comic. Since
Yeah,
like,
I mean it really
Yeah.
is like a comic come to life, and there's so many like
Mhm.
scenes that look like that. But I guess we'll to start things off, the movie is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as we've already stated. The movie was directed by Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. Produced by Avi Arad, Amy Pascal, Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Christina Steinberg. Which, if you'll notice, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, they did the Lego Movie, and they also did.
Wonderful
They
animation.
were the directors of Solo before Disney replaced them with Ron Howard.
So what you're saying is Solo could have been
the-
much better.
The best parts of Solo probably are
secret.
what they did.
Mhm.
I got episode 2 of Screen View for Solo Review.
For those of you wondering, Spencer has never actually seen any Star Wars movies in his life.
I hardly know. dude. Oh,
Michael
there
dropped
goes
his
Grass.
phone.
Sorry.
The runtime of the movie is a crisp hour 56 minutes.
Solid time.
The budget, $90 million. And the box office revenue. Does anyone want to take a guess as to how much this movie made?
So wait, the budget was 90
Budget
million?
was $90 million.
I'm
Are
gonna
you
say
talking like profit or just like what the
Just
box
the box
office
office.
numbers
Yeah,
were?
the box office.
box office. I'm gonna say 200 million.
493 million.
300 mil.
Okay, 200 seem low now. 250.
Box office was 375.5 million.
Jesus.
I was a little off by 100 million.
That's
I mean, there's it. man.
honest. That's incredible though, especially for
it's-
it being like a movie,
An animated
completely
movie.
different
Like
from all the
animated
others.
movies don't really like do that well. Like I feel
Yeah.
like
But I mean, also not being a sequel.
yeah.
mean,
I mean,
every big movie now is a sequel or like a.
I
like a
also
book or
think it
something, so.
being Spider-Man, which is like Spider-Man is arguably like the most well-known superhero. Like I think that helped.
Yeah.
But I mean also, but it's like a Spider-Man that's not about like like Peter Parker, like it's
Mhm.
about Miles Morales.
Yeah, which almost no one outside of like people who like just like the general audience doesn't probably know a whole lot about Miles Morales. They know Peter Parker, and that's just probably because of the older Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire and like Andrew Garfield.
Tobey. Speaking of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield,
And Tom Holland.
you guys ready to jump into a little synopsis?
Yes.
It's
Wait,
not
wait,
gonna
actually,
be
real quick, back up. Did the director who did you say the directors were?
directors. There were three of them. There was
It's like
Bob
Sam something.
Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman.
Almost Sam. Okay. Did they have any other like notable movies?
I didn't check, but I can. I mean, I feel like they would have to. Like, I feel like Sony wouldn't
Anybody
just
in
like,
chat, if you know the answer to that, go ahead and
like Sony wouldn't just
throw it
like
in there.
throw them. Oh, Bob Persichetti. He was the director of Puss in Boots 2, Nine Lives, and 40. Oh, that hasn't come out yet.
No wonder it's
Um,
so good.
Wait, there's a Puss in Boots on the way?
He was a storyboard artist for Shrek 2.
Oh shit.
He
Okay.
worked on
Okay.
Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan, Fantasia, Emperor's New Groove,
Oh,
Atlantis, and Treasure Planet. So he's got
Okay.
quite.
God, I love Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet was incredible.
We should do Treasure Planet
Yeah,
for
we can
one
do
of
that.
these. Oh my God.
You're onto something there.
Mhm.
So he clearly he knows his stuff, especially with animated movies
Yeah.
that we all love here. Because I couldn't think of a single one of those movies that I didn't love.
Yeah,
Sure.
those are all good.
Emperor's New Groove, arguably one of the strongest
The
character
best
arcs.
David Spade movie of all time.
I don't know if you've seen Dickie Roberts, but
I haven't.
I don't know if you've
I
seen
don't need
Grown
to.
Ups.
I don't need to see this. So
Sorry, Grown Ups 2.
or
Sorry.
Electric Boogaloo. So I guess just to like
David's
to jump into it, movies. Oh, first of all, the movie opens up with like glitchy Sony intro, like a glitchy Marvel Comics intro, which is like I thought really cool. Like obviously ties into the movie later on. We get opens up with a Spider-Man, Peter Parker, if you will, saying, "Let's do this one last time." He's obviously done this many times before. He just, introducing himself. You know who he is. He's Spider-Man. He's Peter Parker. He's probably the perfect rendition of Peter Parker. Like he's like all like he's the most iconic Peter Parker, most iconic Spider-Man. So many like references in his little opening monologue to like the Tobey Maguire movies. Like there's like the upside down kiss. Um, There's when he stops the train. Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, we don't talk about that." And it's him doing the little dance.
God.
They talk about like it's so. This movie is so meta because they talk about like Spider-Man in universe has comic books about him. Like he has like the popsicle. They talk about the popsicle. Um, and so one thing I didn't know when I first saw this movie, like they the dude, what's his name? What's his name? The guy, the other Peter Parker. That's the guy from New Girl. What's his?
yeah, I can't think of his
It's
name.
like Jake. It's Jake something, right?
Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson. Yeah, I didn't know.
Was he not the both of the?
No, Chris Pine
No.
is the OG.
Yeah.
Like he's the perfect Spider-Man, and I had no idea he was in this movie.
Perfect
like
Spider-Man.
the blonde one at the beginning.
Yeah,
That's
blonde
Chris Pine.
Spider-Man is
Yeah.
Chris Pine, and I had no idea he was in this movie. And like when it was starting off, I was like, he sounds different, and his hair's not brown.
Yeah,
like
I guess he does sound like him. Yeah, but
Um,
I mean, even after just watching, like I could have sworn it was just both of them, but one was just talking.
Yeah,
like
he's just
I mean,
talking
like it
a
was
little
just Jake
different.
Johnson just talking like he's older and just disheveled.
But so yeah, what does he say? He said he's been Spider-Man for 10 years. And
He was 26
yeah,
when he
was
died.
young.
Yeah.
Which is like in the comics, like when Miles Morales is introduced, Peter Parker dies. He's 15 years old, and Miles Morales is like
Miles is 15, or
no, Peter Parker is 15 years old when he dies in that
What?
storyline
Oh, wow.
of the like
Yeah.
those comics. He's like a junior in high school or something. Like
Dang.
Jesus.
so yeah, so he's like doing his little intro, and then he says, "There's only one Spider-Man," which goes straight into a little intro. We hear Sunflower start playing, Miles singing along, and it's so relatable because he's like
Yeah.
he's putting his heart into it, but he doesn't know all the words, but he doesn't care. He's just like he's drawing, he's doing his little dances. You can hear his mom and his dad yelling for him in the background.
And I thought that was like a really great touch because like usually even if it's a song that you like a lot, you're still you don't know every lyric. So
I don't know
usually
every
when
word
it
to
gets to the lyric you don't know, you get kind of quiet when you're singing it.
Mhm.
So I thought that was a really cool touch.
And it just like adds to the whole teenager aspect of it, like relating to it, because like I feel like everyone knew that feeling growing up, listening to a song that you love, and obviously your parents yelling at you for school in the morning, that sort of deal. I feel like it was just sort of the introduction to him that everyone could really relate to.
Was
Yeah.
that like typically where you respond one more music video, Dad, and stuff like that?
Basically,
One more
Uh,
episode of Shiners, son.
So one thing, I think I read this at one point, but I'm not sure if it's entirely true. But apparently, when the animators were animating that scene, they didn't have the song. Like they didn't like the song hadn't been released yet, so they were like animating to a song that they hadn't like actually heard
BPM or something.
before.
I
So
wonder if that
they
if
just
that
like I
tied
guess they
into,
just had the
him not knowing
lyrics.
the words.
I mean, yeah, that might have like tied into it a little bit. So yeah, so Miles like he packs his bags for school, which like at first I was kind of confused as to why he was like packing a suitcase because I didn't realize it was like a boarding school
Dorm.
that he was
Yeah.
like still in New York but going to a boarding school.
Mhm.
But you know, he's walking to school like he's obviously the cool guy. He's like everybody knows him. Everybody's like, "Yo, what's up, Miles?" And then like that girl that's like, "Oh, we missed you." And he's like, "I'm still here." And he's like, "Wait, you miss me?" And you know,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
typical
I do
teenager.
wish that, or I wish there was like if there's ever any. I mean, I know I think they're making a second one, but it would be cool to get a little bit of beforehand to see what he was like at
Yeah.
his other
Yeah.
school before he's a nerd.
I just think I mean, we'll probably touch on it like when he gets to his new school, but like it's just such a funny like juxtaposition of like him walking around like everybody knows him and everybody loves him, but then when he gets to his new school, like no one like he does like he's invisible basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foreshadow.
So he's walking, he jumps up and like puts his sticker on the signpost and then he falls. Does he fall or does he like almost get hit by a car? I can't remember.
He falls in front of the cop car.
Yeah, he falls in
and
front of the
his
cop
dad's
car and it's his dad.
Mhm.
So his dad
He doesn't
picks him
almost
up
get hit, but his dad comes up.
and then they're just driving. His dad's being a typical boomer, like, "Oh, there's opening of another coffee shop," like blah blah blah. It's like,
Oh
you
my
know,
god.
and then there's a news report for seismic activity, which you know, that's a whole thing.
Yeah. That's another like foreshadowing
They
thing. Going back real
Miles,
quick
yeah.
before we make it too far, I will say that whenever he was getting ready, you hear his mom like speaking Spanish.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that was one thing that I know Mary said she enjoyed is that whenever they were speaking Spanish, they didn't bother translating it.
Yeah, they just kept it Spanish. They didn't show like subtitles. Because me and Laurel, we had the subtitles still on because when we watch Ozark, we have subtitles on. And the
Yeah.
subtitles are still on. I just didn't turn them off. And like even the subtitles for that are just Spanish. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't.
exactly. Which is like one thing that she said she really liked about that was that
You can still get the vibe from it.
that they just left it like you can obviously pick up on context clues what they
Yeah.
were saying there. But she just enjoyed that because it was like sort of like a little thing for people out there who did speak Spanish who have this just at least that one little moment
Yeah.
that maybe not everyone got, even though they probably should anyways, because it's pretty obvious what they were saying there. I just really appreciated that they put that in there.
Yeah. It's very. That's one thing I really like about, and especially like just the way the world is now. Like Miles Morales is like the black Spider-Man, like first and
Mhm.
foremost. Like, and he's also like he's multicultural. Like his dad is African American. His mom is, I think, I don't know
Puerto
what her. I think she might be Puerto Rican,
That's
maybe.
what I was like.
I'm not sure, but so yeah, so he's in the dad's cop car, and then he sees like some classmates or something, and he's like, "Oh, can you go faster? Like I know these guys." But his dad like he stops at a red light, and his dad and he's like, "Don't you guys run those?" And his dad's like, "Not me." Like basically like I'm a good cop or whatever.
Yeah, it's
And,
really showing that he's really like
Yeah, he
strict
plays by
law.
the rules. So they get to school. I can't remember the whole conversation, but Miles' dad says something that like makes him upset, whatever.
I
And
think it was when he was talking. Was he talking about Spider-Man at the time, or was he? No, he was talking about how he doesn't want to go to the school.
yeah,
and
oh
how
yeah, because he was like,
won the
yeah,
lottery.
we all have to something like, we all make choices or something, and then he's like, what about my or something
There
like,
comes great accountability.
yeah, and he's like, that's not the, that was so
That's
good.
not the one.
That was really good. And then yeah, his dad yells at him and tells him that he doesn't have a choice. And then
Mhm.
so Miles gets out of the car. His dad says, "I love you." And then Miles just shuts the door, walks away, and his dad goes over his little intercom, says, "You got to say it back."
Yep.
So
Pretty good.
Miles doesn't want to do it,
That's a
and then
beautiful
eventually
moment,
he does
yeah.
it, and everybody laughs, and he walks in, and immediately just like complete opposite, like I said earlier, complete opposite of on his way to school. Like no one looks at people look at him, but they like look at him like he's other, like
This
he's
is the
not.
new kid.
Yeah, he's the new kid. Um, he says something like he's like, "Oh, we have the same jacket," like trying to make a fun little joke, and it just falls completely flat. Like it just does not land.
Yeah.
Um,
Which clearly shows he's sort of like an extrovert almost, just because he's really open with talking to other people. Like he's clearly shy, but he wants to make other friends there, which is one thing that I will say is a little bit different about the other Spider-Man movies, because he seemed more. The other Spider-Man were all the Peter Parkers were sort of like introverts,
yeah, Peter
didn't really
Parker's a
want to
big
talk to
nerd.
anyone else, had their like one friend and that was it, like Harry Osborn at all times. But this one, it seems like he's more trying to go around to make friends with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Peter Parker. He's like Miles is like completely different from Peter Parker. I love it.
Hmm.
So Miles shows up late, or yeah, he shows up late to class,
Hmm.
and there's doctor, like a scientist on the they're watching a video of some scientists from Alchemax, which obviously she shows up later. Um, he says a joke like, "Oh, the teacher says something like you're late," and then he's like, "Oh, Einstein said something like time is relative, so maybe you guys are
Relative.
just early." And Gwen laughs at his joke, but she's like, "Oh, that was so quiet. Like, wanted to make it less awkward."
Yeah, and
Um,
obviously this is at the point in the movie where you don't even know that that's Gwen yet. It's
yeah,
just some girl in his class, but
another new
it's
girl.
obvious after they start talking to each other, and she even says, she tries to make up like a fake name while trying not to slip out her real name there, saying like she's South African and all this.
That's actually a little bit later, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
So then there's like a school montage. Like, um, he he hands in a test to a teacher, or he gets a test back from his teacher, and it's an F. Like it's all zeros, and she's like, "You know what would happen if you took a blindfold and you did a true false test? You get 50% right. The only way you can get all wrong is if you know every answer." So obviously Miles is trying to flunk his way out of the school.
Mhm.
Won't let him. Signs him a book essay, and the book is Great Expectations, which I think is like kind of like I feel like Great Expectations for this movie is like the with great power comes great responsibility.
Mhm.
Like everybody just expects so much from Miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
So then Miles is like trying to write his essay and he's not doing it, and then he ends up going to his uncle Aaron's house, and he goes outside the window and he texts his uncle and says like I see you or whatever. And then his
Which
uncle,
basically looked like a Snapchat.
yeah, it was like a
'Cause he took
Snapchat.
photo of him and put like emojis on it and
Yeah.
everything. Which another thing, just like showing that teenager quality. And then he like puts his face up against the glass and starts smearing it around, which is I think it's like showing you their relationship.
Yeah,
Like
like
first and
Uncle Aaron is
foremost,
like the cool uncle. Like,
yeah, he's the cool uncle and everything. And then also making you show like how Miles Morales is like still this innocent kid. Really, they're like really trying to cement that in, like he is a kid
Mhm.
still.
And then so yeah, he gets inside Aaron's place, and then get the sick, like very quick little Easter egg of Donald Glover as Troy from Community, like standing up with like the Spider-Man shirt on, which like is just so many, like it's so many different layers because it's
Mhm.
like he was wearing that shirt in Community because it was like during the before the Amazing Spider-Man movies came out, and there was the hashtag Donald for Spider-Man, and so everybody wanted him to be Spider-Man, and then so Miles Morales, like the people, like the creators of Miles Morales, made him like loosely based off of Donald Glover because of all of
Yeah.
that. Like they were inspired by Donald Glover to make like Miles Morales, which I
Yeah, I
just
didn't even know that.
very
That's
cool, very full circle.
Mhm.
Um, his uncle, he's so they're talking about school. He brings up that there's like there might be a girl that he's interested in, and so Uncle Aaron, being the cool, suave motherfucker that he is, shows him the shoulder touch.
Oh
The
yeah,
old,
yeah.
"Hey." And then Miles just can't get it.
So good.
Miles just cannot get it, but he'll try his damnedest. So then Aaron takes Miles to go put up a tag. They're like going through the subway and like all this stuff. Miles like asked him how he knows about it, and he said, "Oh, I did an engineering job here." Like later on, we'll see. Oh, an engineering job, huh? So they get in there. I think all during this, you kind of like you see the spider like crawling around like while Miles is like doing all the
It's like it was glitching out and stuff.
he's like doing
Yeah.
it. And then it ends up it's like an outline of Miles, and it says no expectations.
What's really cool about the spider, like if you watch it, like if it goes like over certain colors and patterns, it's like going invisible over like those colors and stuff, kind of
Mhm.
like
Oh,
hinting to like the powers or
Yeah.
whatever that
I
Miles
did. I
gets.
did not even recognize that. That's.
I guess I didn't notice that. That's actually
That's really cool though. Yeah,
Right.
that they hinted at that.
One more time, I missed it. Sorry.
So like the spider when it's crawling through in that scene, it looks kind of more like camouflage, like where it's changing.
Oh yeah,
colors,
yeah.
spray
Yeah, it's like
paint
it's like
cans and stuff
invisible
like
and it's kind of staticky and stuff.
right. So it kind of
Yeah.
hints to like Miles' powers that he gets from the spider.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so they do the
Static
thing.
shock abilities.
Miles is about to take he takes a picture of his thing of his
Tag.
of his art, and
Peace.
spider crawls up on his hand and bites him, and it goes through the whole like see the venom go through his whole body, and then
Classic sequence.
Miles just like has no reaction. He just like
Yeah,
smacks
he's
it
very
off his
chill
hand.
about being bitten by
Like,
a giant
just-
spider.
The complete
Yeah.
opposite of every like Spider-Man origin story we've seen, where like Peter Parker just like writhes on the ground in pain, like, oh my
Yeah,
god, I got bit by a spider. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure it would hurt,
Like, if
but
that happened to me, I'm
That would do.
screaming. I'm screaming instantly.
if
I'm
I
making
see,
sure that thing's
I'd
dead.
scream when I see this. Like, if I see the spider, I'm gonna be like freaking out. Like, it's not gonna
Yeah,
get a chance
meanwhile,
to bite
he
me.
looked at it and then he hit his wrist to the point where it just slings the spider off rather than actually hitting it.
Yeah.
And,
No, he
no,
kills it.
So
He kills the spider.
they go home. Miles goes back to his room, and I can't tell. Like, I couldn't tell. Like, obviously his roommate was like doing stuff. Like, it was like time lapse, and his roommate was just like doing stuff. But like, was Miles actually like, was he asleep, or was he like? He kind of looked like he was like obviously not sleeping well,
Yeah.
but I couldn't tell if he was like awake or not. I think he was
I
like
don't
just not
Probably
sleeping
like a
well.
dreamy kind of like
Yeah,
transformation.
like how I
sequence
sleep,
thing.
where like I
Yeah.
wake up every few hours and I just can't sleep.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You're just like rolling around, moving in your sleep, sort of deal.
So he wakes up. He puts on his pants. They're too short.
Mhm.
Like, oh, he's like, oh, I think I hit puberty or
Yeah.
something.
Hey, he's like, did he shrink when
and
I was asleep?
then you could like his. So first thing is like you see the thought bubbles as like comic book thought bubbles, which I love.
Yes.
Like it's like they could have just kept it in his head, but you also like see it like a comic book, which is awesome.
Mhm.
He's like walking around and he's like, why are my thoughts so loud? Like all this stuff. He's like, I gotta get new pants. Like, and then he runs into the mystery girl who they introduce. She says her name is. She's about to say Gwen. She stops herself and says Gwanda, which at first I was like, why did she make up a fake name? But then I realized it's because she's from an alternate dimension and she doesn't know if there's already like a Gwen Stacy like in this dimension, which Miles obviously doesn't know her, but there probably is another Gwen Stacy somewhere.
I was really
yeah.
hoping that we were gonna touch on that at some point.
I
Like,
bet-
see their alternate
I bet there
dimension.
will be like in the future sequels. There'll be like something will happen, and they'll have to deal with the other Gwen Stacy. They talk
I wanna
about
see,
stuff.
like Miles go into the Nicolas Cage world and like
that would be
yeah.
that would be so great.
Yeah,
Also, I love
have,
like
have some color going to the black and white one, like how they had just the black and white and the.
we'll probably talk about it more later, but I love Nicolas Cage's character. Obviously, spoiling it for spoilers if you haven't seen the movie yet that we're talking about. But Nicolas Cage as a character in this movie, and it's so great. Also,
Fantastic.
apparently,
The
it's
noir.
Nicolas Cage's second animated film role. Like he's only been in 2 animated movies, and it's this one and Teen Titans Go the movie.
Okay,
So
yeah, I was
both of
not
his
gonna guess
animated
that.
movies
No.
are like based off comic books. So funny. Like
Dude, I just watched Teen Titans Go like last year, and I just never picked up that Nicolas Cage is in it at all.
So you're telling me he wasn't the lead in Spirited Away? Is that what I'm hearing? Because I could have sworn that was
I mean
him.
the girl, the lead character, the girl.
I said the lead.
So he hits her with the shoulder touch. Goes, hey, and she's like, well, I'm gonna go now. And then he tries to take his hand off and gets stuck in her hair, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, he doesn't say that, but he thinks it.
PG movie.
Like his hand, like he's not even holding it; it's stuck in her hair. And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna pull as hard as I can, and then he counts to 3, and then she throws him over, and then we cut to they're in the nurse's office, and you hear like buzzers, and then you see Miles have his hand, and it's just got blonde hair in it, and it pans over to a handprint shaped, it's like Buzz Skrillex cut on Gwen Stacy's head, and it's just, it's great because I'm pretty sure like the side buzz is like her look in the comic books, so it's like it's kind of funny how they like justified getting to that point like in the movie.
Yeah.
So then he leaves the nurse, like he says, I like your haircut, and then no, I think that's later, but when I don't know, he says I like your haircut, and she's like, I think that's later when she shows up later on, but
That's like after the Alchemax
yeah.
fight sequence.
He walks out of the nurse's office and he's like, nobody knows, and then he quickly realizes that everyone knows, and he runs into the security guard, and the security guard's like, Morales, I know you snuck out last night, and then he's like, and then in his head he's like, play it cool or something, and he says, who's Morales? And he's like, not that cool. Then he runs away from the security guard, and he ends up running into the security guard's office, which he realizes afterward. He thinks he's safe, and what does he do? He jumps onto the ceiling and gets stuck.
Yeah, he gets stuck on the ceiling, and when he falls down, he hits the laptop,
and it plays the Spider-Man Christmas album.
Spider-Man Christmas album, yeah.
He's got a nice voice.
Earlier in the movie,
yeah,
whenever the original Spider-Man was saying all the things that he had done, and that was one of the things was that Spider-Man album.
So he like jumps out the window, and he sticks to the wall, and he's like, or no, he's saying stop sticking while he's in the office, and then he falls out the window, and then he's quickly like, keep sticking, and then he makes it to his room, and he like falls onto his roommate's Spider-Man comics, and then you see that like all of the stuff that he's saying has been like was said in the comics, which I love because like those are actual like panels from actual Spider-Man comics. Like they didn't just make those up for the movie. Like they're just like basing it off of it, which I thought was really cool. Gwen sees him up on the wall. And then I don't remember the full, like he gets down and he's like, oh, I gotta go to Uncle Aaron's house. I gotta go find out like
he falls into his room
because he realizes in the Spider-Man that he like, oh, Spider-Man got bit by a spider. Like, there's only one Spider-Man. I can't be Spider-Man. Yeah. Then he realizes the spider bit him. Like, I gotta go to Uncle Aaron's. As he's going to Uncle Aaron's, he almost gets hit by a taxi, but he does a sick backflip over it, and everybody's like, "That was dope, kid." And he's like, "Stop looking at me."
He gets a 30-foot backflip.
Yeah, fucking like casual gainer over this taxi, no problem. He finds the spider and he sees the spider, or the spider glitches. And then I don't know. I mean, I know that happens right here, but I don't know exactly what happens. But then Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and the Green Goblin start like just crash through the wall. And they're fighting. So yes, Miles is trying to get away, and he keeps like almost getting like hit by stuff, and then he starts to fall, and Peter saves him, and then immediately he like spider sense, like he realizes that Miles is like they're the same, and then like, oh, you're like me, and he's like, I don't want to be, and then he like, I'll teach you, like, just stay here, whatever.
He
And
basically just told him you don't have a choice at this point.
yeah, he's like, yeah, you don't
are
have a choice.
now.
So he's tells him to stay there. So Prowler shows up, starts like beating the shit out of Peter Parker as he's trying to plug in the little USB device, which I loved. Was it here? Or was it later on where he says like, "Oh, I always get this wrong," and he tries to like plug it in, and he like
It was
can't.
yeah.
Which I thought like just so funny, like a thing that everyone can
Should have had
relate
USB-C.
to. They don't have it in that universe.
Not yet.
So yeah, they're starting to fight, and then we get the Kingpin reveal, which I love. Kingpin's
That is my favorite
design
part about the
in
entire
this fucking movie.
movie.
It's so great. Just a giant black hole of a man, like that takes up the entire screen.
He
when
looks
he's
so
there.
absurd, and I love it.
Yeah, and he's like clicking his pin. He tells them to start the glider, and it opens up multiple dimensions. They mention like, oh, there's multiple dimensions opening up. I don't know. So did they? No, it's afterwards. So and then yeah, so Green Goblin like holds Peter into the beam. So Peter like starts seeing all this shit, and then
this is also the scene where it introduces the other enforcer for Kingpin, who
yeah, Tombstone.
Silverman.
Yeah, it's Tombstone.
Okay,
He's another villain in the movie. They say his name like once or twice in the whole movie.
Yeah, but yeah, that's also where he's introduced because when he's trying to put the goober in, that's whenever he's knocked away by him. There's a Tombstone comes by and knocks him off there.
Yeah, and then the Green Goblin like holds him into the beam, and Kingpin's like, "Yo, don't do that! Like, get him out of there, you dumb Goblin punk." So it like power surges all of New York City. Peter is like messed up. Miles runs over to him. He's like, "Can you get up?" And he's like, "I always get back up." And then Peter gives him the USB as like, you gotta all you gotta do is just go up there, like do this, like blow it up or whatever. And then the Kingpin and Prowler and Tombstone like they start coming over. Miles runs away, but he stays sort of close by to watch. Kingpin's about to he takes off his mask, and then Peter's like, I saw what you're trying to do, or he's like, don't you want to know what I saw? Kingpin like tells Prowler to stop, and then he basically just tells him like, you're never gonna be able to do what you're trying to do, like you're gonna bring your family back, like left you. Then Kingpin like, and it's just so brutal, just like full like slams Peter, like probably like decapitated him, like just I don't know, like definitely didn't have an open casket funeral. That's all I'm gonna say.
Shattered all his ribs.
Yeah. Miles, I can't remember. Does he like make? He's running away and he like says like something like.
Slightly reacts and like it messes. He like tips something over and it makes a noise and then so he gets found out like immediately after that.
Prowler chases him. Miles is running away. Prowler's theme, by the way, is dope. Like or whatever.
Yeah, I love any of the music where he's around. Just the it's kind of like revving a motorcycle.
Yeah, which is fitting.
Which is like how he gets around and stuff, and it's just.
Which is also like, so there's the soundtrack to this movie just in general is so good, like
ridiculously good.
And one of I think it's the "What's Up Danger," which is a song much later in the movie. On like when that song opens up, it is that sound. Like that's the sound. Like they took that sound from the song. I don't know if they took it from the song and put it into the movie, or if they took it from the movie and put it into the song. Either way, I like love it.
It's perfect, yeah.
So yeah, Prowler's chasing him. Is this the part where he's on the motorcycle and like they crash and like Miles barely makes it through?
No, that's much later.
Or is that later? That's late. That's the other time there. I know Miles gets away.
He
The
basically
first
ends
one-
up back at his parents' house.
Yeah, he runs to his parents' house, but before we get there, we get a
Like,
little scene
festivities
of
at home and
So
stuff.
when the power surge happened, it like glitched out some of the buildings and like some street lights, and we get a little scene of two guys looking up at one of the street lights. One of them says, "I think it's a Banksy," which I like.
Yeah.
So dumb, but I love it. It's just such a dumb, funny little joke. And apparently, I feel like I read somewhere that that character, just that little bit character, was voiced by Post Malone. Like I guess they like
Oh,
gave him
really?
a little voice part because of the song. Um. So yeah, Miles like breaks into his home, and his dad is like, oh, like who's there? This is the police or whatever. And Miles is like upset. Um, they
Yeah, she's
he like asks
Spider-Man.
if he can stay there, and his mom's like yeah, but his dad's like I don't know. And then he Miles asks his dad if he really hates Spider-Man, and his dad's I mean you know he's not like mom is obviously like
Yeah. Mhm.
So the next day on the news, or I think it's either the next day or maybe it's that night. That
It's
Spider-Man
that
is
night,
yeah, it's
yeah.
reported on the news that Spider-Man is dead, and it just like you see it just like spread through New York City. Like obviously everyone is just upset, like 'cause Spider-Man is like you know he's the hero of the people. So I think it's like during this scene, it's like Mary Jane's speech starts to like go through. Um, we get to like Miles is at the church, Mary Jane's speech,
Well,
and
before
she
that,
says,
He goes to the
goes to
"Oh
the
yeah,
food
yeah, yeah,
store.
yeah, yeah." He goes to the fuck, goddamn. We
yeah.
get the.
That's Stanley's
This is the
last
first
standing.
time in this movie that I teared up. That was this part where he goes to the Stan's costume shop, and it's Stan Lee, obviously, and he's just like, "I'm gonna miss him. We were friends, you know." And it's like this movie came out right after Stanley had passed away. I'm pretty sure. Like, it was
Yeah.
very soon after Stanley passed away. So it was like very fresh on everyone. Kind of like when I saw Rogue One the day that Carrie Fisher died. So
Oh.
when we got to like, I think like I was on the way to the movie when like they like I saw that she had died. So then at the end when like Princess Leia popped up, like I cried. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god. But yeah, so Stan Lee pops up. First time I cried in this movie. Um,
Certainly not the
he's
last.
yeah, most definitely not the last. Miles is like, "Can I return it if it doesn't fit?" And then Stanley says, "It always fits."
Yeah.
Eventually,
And
and
just
then
keep smiling.
and then it pans over and it says no returns. Um, and then so yeah, we get to the Mary Jane is giving the speech. Miles is there like in his little Spider-Man costume. It doesn't fit. Um, and she says something like we're counting on you, and Miles says out loud they are counting on me, and the guy next to him was like probably not you in particular. I think it's more of a metaphor. And so
Yeah, like literally you.
yeah, so then we get some like cool like montage music playing. Miles like decides he's gonna like try to be Spider-Man. He's gonna go up to the top of a building, he's gonna jump off. So he runs up the stairs to a
Just
building.
like Tobey Maguire did.
Yeah.
I actually guess that's, I mean, pretty much just like all of them
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
They always have their leap of faith at some
Yeah.
point.
Which leap of faith, you know, very big, very big, like, just theme in this movie. That those are
Motif.
three words that get said like multiple times later on in the movie. Um, so like there's like good like you know epic music playing as he's running up the stairs. He like looks down, and like music is playing, and then the music cuts, and you just hear like pitter patter of feet running down the stairs, and then he like looks around and he finds a shorter building, and then the music starts playing again, and he's running up the stairs, and he like builds himself up, and he jumps off, and he just fucking eats it.
Yeah,
Like
he
he
trips
just
on the shoelaces.
Shoestrings.
he trips on his shoestrings, just complete like you know I don't know how he's not dead, falling off a skyscraper in New York City, but whatever. Um, falls, lands, breaks the USB device.
You ever-
So then we get to he visits Peter Parker's grave. I don't remember exactly what he says here. I think he's just like sorry,
he's just
kind of like
Killed you.
Yeah, he was apologizing because he broke the goober. And he's like, I don't have don't know what else to do at this point now.
Yeah, he's like, I messed up. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do now. That whole thing.
And then you see a shadow drop down behind him, and the shadow looks like Prowler. Yeah, it's got like the popped collar, and like it like walks up to him and it like puts his hand on his shoulders, like, "Hey, kid." And then Miles like turns around and just like punches him, and it's just electricity, and he's knocked out, and Miles doesn't know what happened. But when that happened, web from Peter got stuck on, or I guess we don't know who it is yet. Then it goes to reveal that it's Peter Parker, but he's kind of like, he looks a little like, he looks home. It's homeless Peter Parker. He's got like sweatpants on over his spider suit. He's got like one shoe, trench coat. Looks older. Um, so he, yeah, the web, like, I guess when Peter touched Miles, like some web got stuck to him or something, and so the police show up, um, and they're, no, for that we get his like, oh, let's do this one last time, and then he's just like, um, he's like, yeah, I'm Spider-Man, blah blah blah, like I've been Spider-Man for 20 something years or something, like he says, like, so so this Spider-Man's obviously older, like he's been doing this a long time. Just says stuff like, yeah, like got married, like did all this stuff, made some bad business decisions, and then it shows a TGI Spidey's, which I thought was hilarious. Like obviously the restaurant didn't take off.
It basically shows all the bad decisions that he made over the year, especially in comparison to this other Spider-Man.
Yeah, just showing like this obviously is not the perfect Spider-Man that we saw before. This is an older, like deviled Spider-Man. He's made bad decisions. He's not a great person. Him and Mary Jane got divorced.
Yeah.
And then he says, yeah, he said something like he wanted kids and he didn't, and I'm sure there was other things. That was one of them. It shows he was saying like, and then he's like, and then how did I get here? And he says, I was in my apartment doing ab crunches, getting strong, and it shows him just laying on his bed eating pizza. And then he gets sucked into this dimension, into Miles's dimension. Then that's where we're at. And then police show up. They're like, stop, and then he runs away, and Peter's stuck to him, so he drags Peter, and then it just starts this whole like web hijinks. He like accidentally like or he puts his hands up, and then he makes Peter's web go, and then it gets stuck to a train, and so like Peter and Miles are just getting dragged by this train and all this stuff. Peter's just getting like dragged around, like
by hitting every single car, just dragged his face on the ground, everything.
Then there's you hear over the police intercom or whatever. It's like, there's a young boy dressed as a Spider-Man dragging a homeless corpse behind a train.
Pretty great.
And then, so after that, like, Peter wakes up, or Miles passes out, and Peter wakes up and he's tied to the punching bag of Uncle Aaron's, and
because Uncle Aaron is at this point out of town.
Yeah, he's out of town, quote unquote. They're like talking, and he's like, "You got to help me because the other Peter Parker said he'd help me." Blah blah blah, and while they're doing this, Peter is like breaking his way out of his ties. Says, "Don't watch the mouth, watch the hand."
Yeah.
And so as he's about to jump out of the window and leave, he glitches and like falls to the ground, and he says like, "Oh, my body isn't, like, my cells don't want to be here," or something. And so Miles goes to say, "With great power comes great responsibility," but Peter cuts him off and says, "Don't you dare finish that sentence. I've heard it too many times."
Great ability comes great responsibility.
Great accountability comes great responsibility. Yeah. So Miles shows him the USB, and Peter B. Parker says, "Oh, you've got a goober." That's when we first hear the word a goober, which I love. Like, just everything in every media should just be called a goober. like
Mhm.
like everything that can destroy anything or whatever. Um, so Miles guilts him into helping him. Like pan, or we like go to black and we come back and they're at a burger restaurant that Peter loved and it's shut down in Peter's universe. And he's like, I don't know why, but then like you see in the background that they have a C health rating,
Yeah.
and um so Miles asks him for some tips. He says, "Yeah, disinfect the mask, baby powder the joints, all that stuff." And it's like Miles obviously not what Miles was looking for. Asked for tips, and then something like Alchemax gets brought up because or that's oh yeah, he's like, you got to go to Alchemax because that's where this like you're the guy in your universe, so you got to like redo that. And he's like, oh, Alchemax, that's where like the lady on the was. And they're like, oh, it's in upstate New York. And then Miles like, all right, you can give me some swinging tips on the way up there. And then it just shows that they're riding a bus.
Mhm.
Hilarious because he's like, you gotta save. He's like, you gotta save the legs. You'll trust me later, or something like that, or you'll thank me later.
It's really just showing how lazy this other Peter Parker is.
Yeah.
Wearing his sweatpants.
Yeah.
They get to the lab and they're like, okay, we gotta like break into the lab and get find the head scientist. And like it's this little montage that Peter's talking. He's like, break into the lab, find the head scientist, and it shows like a man, and then you see, and Miles is like, oh, the head scientist is that lady from the
Bicycle.
video. And then yeah, with the bicycle, and she walks by, and then Peter's like, I gotta re-examine my personal biases, which I thought was great.
It's also quick. It just like flies through
Yeah.
so many little things, and it's just good. Such a smart movie.
He's like, steal a
It's like
bagel and
Letterkenny about a
we're out.
cartoon.
Like, and then so Peter makes Miles stay there while he goes in to do it. I'll be quick. Kingpin shows up. Miles is like, uh-oh, gotta go warn my boy Peter Parker. So Miles breaks in to warn Peter. He's like, I can't I can't let another Spider-Man die. So then they're in the vents, and then you hear the doctor explaining to Kingpin that there were like there were like ruptures, and like maybe it's not the best, like probably shouldn't do this that much more. Um, Peter, like they break into the office, like Peter starts doing the password, but he doesn't finish it because the doctor comes back. Miles gets stuck on the ceiling. Or no, Miles gets stuck on the ceiling, and then he's like freaking out, and um, he's like, "Oh, just relax. Like, what do you do to relax?" And so Miles starts singing "Sunflower," like unsticks, falls, and
With no
causes,
actual words. It's all just
yeah.
it's
He's
all
like
just
humming it,
and
yeah.
They're really getting their mileage out of probably their most expensive song for the movie right there.
Yeah.
And especially since they knew
Miles'
it was probably
favorite
gonna be
song.
a profitable one as well. They just really gotta push that in.
Yeah, so when he falls, it like causes a ruckus, and Dr. Olivia comes back in. I don't know if they've revealed her, if they've said. I think in the video maybe they said her name was Dr. Olivia, but Dr. Olivia comes in. Miles is invisible, and Peter is like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" They don't know how he did it. She Spider-Man's like, or Peter's like, I'm gonna put on the charm, and so then she walks in. She's like, Spider-Man, I thought you were dead or whatever. And so Miles is trying to like put in the password, and Peter's like, oh, how old are you? Because you don't look a day over 35. And like that tells Miles the password.
yeah, just feeding him the
So
rest of the
good.
numbers.
And then the Olivia like gets Peter in a chair and starts examining him, and so he glitches, and she's like, oh, that's not like, she's like, that's weird. And then um they reveal that her name is Dr. Olivia Octavius, which like I thought was so, like, I did not see it coming. Like I had no idea. I was like, it's just so cool. And then she's like, oh, do your friends call you Doc Ock? And she's like, no, my friends call me Liv. My enemies call me Doc Ock. And then just like fucking.
Also notice later when they're all at the house with Aunt May, when she comes in, Aunt May calls her Liv.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that means.
I noticed that.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's. I'd like to think that they were actually friends, and she just didn't know.
So
I also like how her arms are like they're like biologic.
Like fluid. Yeah, they're like
yeah. They're not like it's like an actual like mutation kind of thing. It looks like. Whereas like later on, there's that one clip of Spider-Gwen, and you can see for a split second there's like the old school like robotic arms that are going after her montage, which I mean just shows that in the different dimensions that there's the same villains, but they're also different, just like there's the different Spider-Mans in the different dimensions. Nice little parallel there, parallel universe.
Just really quick before I forget again, speaking of glitching and everything, you know how it just like spots up like really quick and it just looks like a bunch of colored circles. So I picked this up
like Dippin' Dots
here today. And I thought this was a really good prop. It's an Amazing Spider-Man that I bought for $3.
That's awesome.
It has nothing to do with this movie in the slightest.
What issue is it?
It looks cool.
As far as aesthetics go, it looks really cool. And then also got this other Peter Parker Spider-Man. So I'll use this one when we talk about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 later on.
Is that what we're gonna do?
Eventually.
Yes.
We're gonna do every movie ever made, Spencer.
Yeah, we're gonna do Titanic. We're gonna do everything.
Titanic, wonderful film. Shame about the boat.
Dude, we can cover Apocalypto and talk about how the first time I saw Apocalypto, I watched the entire movie without subtitles because I didn't know there were subtitles, but I still knew exactly what was going on. There's not a word of English in that movie. It's all Mayans or Aztecs or something. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Anyway,
and I wasn't even missing out on anything.
Save it for the apocalyptic podcast.
We need to do a stream of that movie and just have someone watching it and just trying to guess what in the world is going on.
We'll just we'll do the words for the movie.
That'd be fun. Just make our own dub. So Miles like steals the tower and the monitor, starts running. Then they catch up to Peter, and he's like, "Good news, we don't need the monitor," and he just throws it. So they're running. They get to the break room area, and Peter's like, "Oh, a bagel!" And he takes a bagel. They're like, "Is that Spider-Man?" And everyone just pulls out a gun, and they just like
every real scientist sitting down at.
And like one of the dudes, his chair just like
turns into a gun.
Turns into a gun.
Yeah, and
Transformer gun.
It's great because like you hear one of them say like, "Oh, he took a bagel," and that's why they're mad. They're not mad that Spider-Man's there. They're mad that
he took a bagel and starts shooting.
Yeah.
So then they run out the door. Peter throws the bagel behind him, and then you see the bagel hit someone in the head, and I think it says like bagel.
It's like an action shot.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
So like Peter's just like, "All right, Miles, you just gotta learn by doing. Like you gotta start swinging," and he throws in one of the web shooters, and Miles almost drops it, and then they just start swinging. Miles like he just doesn't do it at first, and he's like running, like, "You gotta swing or they're gonna get you." And then he says like it's like aim with your hips or whatever, and then Miles eventually does it, and then they're going and they're doing it. And it's great, and Peter's like flip release, and they're like going together. They're both holding onto the computer, and then Doc Ock like catches up to them or whatever, and they're like
glitches out.
Oh yeah, he glitches, yeah. And then like he catches the computer by the power cord, and then it's like starting to slip out. It falls, and does Gwen catch? Gwen catches
it first.
Oh yeah, Olivia catches it, and then they get stuck in a web, and they're like, "What is this?" And then Gwen shows up, starts beating down on Doc Ock. Well, I guess and I forgot to mention that Gwen she worked in the lab. Like they showed her earlier. She was in the lab, and that's why she knew.
Sneaking around, you saw her walking down the hallway.
Because I think Miles like knocked her over. Or something. Then Gwen does her like one last time. Peter Parker was her best friend. He died, which in her universe looked like Peter Parker was the Lizard. Like, like he was not Spider-Man. He was the Lizard.
Yeah,
he was Spider-Woman.
She's probably one of my favorite Spider-Man or Spider character.
Yeah, she's her design, her outfit is so dope.
She's got like the ballet shoes and stuff too.
She looks so cool.
Yeah, like the hoodie too.
And then she says that she doesn't do friends anymore because she couldn't save Peter. And then this is when Miles says, "I like your haircut," and she says, "You don't get to like my hair."
Yeah.
And then I guess they get away, right? And then we flash back to why like we see Kingpin's family running away because he's about to kill Spider-Man and his wife. And Vanessa's like, "What are you doing?" They run. They like they're escaping and they get hit by a car, die.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were driving off and they got T-boned.
And so that's what Kingpin's trying to do. He's trying to bring his family back. We're back on the bus. Peter and Gwen are like, or not Peter, Miles and Gwen are like hitting it off. They're talking, and Peter's in the back, like I guess pretending to be asleep. Um, Gwen's like, "Oh, did you guys break this?" And Miles like, "Yeah, he broke it, but don't talk about it." So they go to Aunt May's house, and Peter is just like, "I don't know, like I don't know if I can do this."
Yeah.
Because in his universe, Aunt May is dead. In her universe, Peter's dead. So it's just like they ring the doorbell. She's like, "Oh, no more fans tonight." And then like you first only see Gwen, Miles, and then the door fully opens. Aunt May sees Peter, and I didn't fully cry, but I definitely like choked up a little bit, like just like both of their reactions to like seeing each other. And she immediately knows that he's from a different dimension. And then Gwen is like, "I'm from a different dimension." And then one of my favorite little lines in the movie, she asks Miles, she's like, "What dimension are you from?" And he's like, Brooklyn."
Yeah.
And it's just it's so great. And then so they go back to the shed, and Miles is like, "Oh, do you have one of these in your universe?" He's like, "Yeah, just a little shed out in the back." It's just like, and then they go down, and it's this giant like Bat Cave esque Spider-Man cave, and it's just got like all these little references to stuff. It's got the spider buggy, which like I'm pretty sure it's just some like dumb toy they made for kids, probably like back like when they make superhero toys for shit. They're like, "Oh, we gotta like give them a scuba, gotta give them a jetpack and a scuba set and like a buggy
sure.
and a." And
I'm
then,
pretty sure I had the motorcycle set with Spider-Man at one point.
and then, so see all these different suits, and I love it because you can see the Spider-Man PS4 suit. Like this PS4 game had like just come out right before this movie had come out, I believe.
Start playing that here in the next few days.
You should definitely. It's honestly
Very
like
good.
I love this movie. It's probably one of my favorite like movies, and it's definitely one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. The Spider-Man, like the story of the Spider-Man game, is like up there as like some of my favorite like Spider-Man like.
The game is Miles Morales, right?
No, he's in. I mean, so he's in the game, and they announced like a standalone like. It's not a direct. It's not a full sequel, but it's like a standalone like thing.
It's like the infamous Last Light or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's like, but and that's based on that's a full Miles Morales game. But yeah, he's in the first one.
But like, so is just the regular the full game, is that Peter Parker?
Yeah, you're Peter Parker.
Okay.
Um,
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I bet that was a cool reveal. Then I didn't get to watch the PlayStation event, so
yeah, I didn't watch it either. Yeah,
someone took the Miles Morales Spider-Man game and put the "What's Up Danger" song to it.
Oh, that's cool. I'll
It's really
have to
cool.
check that out.
That's really cool.
Spider Cave, dope, obviously. So we get this little part where Miles is looking at, so earlier in the movie, back when they were breaking into the lab, Miles has a cape on, and and Peter's like no capes, like Spider-Man doesn't do capes. And then in the cave, there's a Spider-Man suit with a cape, and he's like, "Hey Peter, what is this?"
Incredibles.
And then they have a nice little moment. Gwen like sees a little moment. Miles is looking at all the costumes. He finds like the OG Spider-Man suit and looks at a reflection, and he just like it's like a little bit taller than he is. Like he doesn't like he's just like he's like, "Oh, I'm not Spider-Man. Like I can't be. I don't see myself in this suit."
Yeah.
And then so what they say something, and then May is like, "Oh, you thought you were the only ones," or so she said, "You'll need these," and hands them name tags. And "Oh, you thought you were the first ones to come here," and then all their spider senses go off, and we get the reveal of Penny Parker, Spider Ham, and Spider-Man Noir, which they all say a little quip, and the Spider-Man Noir one is just like, what does he say? It's like, why is it windy in here? And he's like, the wind. Wherever I go, the wind follows. Yeah.
And it smells like rain.
Yeah, and it smells like rain, and it's just like, Nicolas Cage is like his voice fits this like obviously it's like I'm biased because like that's who I like hear doing the voice, but like I feel like his voice just fits it so perfectly.
Definitely good
And
casting for sure.
he talks about like and then do they all have their like their little like
At the same time,
their
yeah.
backstory
yeah.
thing? Yeah, like Spider-Man Noir is like I love drinking whatever what did he say like milk
creams.
egg creams and beating up Nazis like and it's like hell yeah. Oh yeah, brother. Penny Parker, like her dad is a scientist, but she like
Spiders inside the
she
robot.
has a spider. She has a psychic connection with a spider that her like in a robot that her dad built, and then it's a kind of like they all say I was bitten by a spider at the same time, but I don't know. Spider Ham says I was bitten by a radioactive pig, and it was
they like turn their head and look at him.
He was a spider that was bitten by a pig and turned into a pig with spider powers, which is just so.
It's so good.
There's so many dumb like cartoon.
And it's
like,
John Mulaney, so she's
John Mulaney. Which this was John Mulaney's first like feature film. This was the first time John Mulaney was in.
Really?
Apparently.
He's got a good voice for. I mean, because he's in Big Mouth.
He's got a good voice for a cartoon pig. Yeah. So they all volunteer to turn off the collider, and Miles says, "No, I'll do it." Like, I dimension, like I'll do it. And they're like, "Well, what can you do or whatever?"
If you turn like when you turn it off,
you have to stay there. Yeah, you can't go back. And so he's like, I'll do it.
Like earlier, if you stay there, you're gonna die if you're not from that dimension. Okay. Thought everything froze for a second there.
All right. So yeah, so they're like, well, what can you do? And then Peter's like, he can turn invisible. And then he tries, and he's like, I can't do it on command. And he goes, he can't do it on command. And then he's like, and he can shock people. And he's like, he tries, he's like, can't do it on command. He can't do it on command. And so then they all have their little spider huddle, right? And then they're like, well, what is? They keep like, they're asking him questions, and they're like, well, can you like do this? Can you do this? Like, are you psychic or like? And they keep like knocking him down and tell him to get up, and which like we've seen before, like Spider-Man always gets back. Then,
Not this time.
so yeah, he's trying to get up, and they just like, they're like, I don't think he can do it. And while they're all talking, he turns invisible and like, way, and then you hear Peter say he did it on command, or whatever, and then
giant elevator that has no handrails.
Yeah, or spider hands. It's like, can you float
like 8 people?
Smell.
Can you float in the air with the sound of a nice pie or the smell of a nice pie? So yeah, he runs away. He's ignoring calls from his parents. It shows his parents in the dad's police car. Like they're both upset that they don't know where Miles is at. His dad calls Uncle Aaron. Like seems that they've had like obviously Uncle Aaron and the dad just aren't on great terms. Like they've had a falling out. Which I think was it earlier? Yeah, because like I guess earlier in the movie when Miles is with Aaron, it's the only really time they've like really been together. But like Aaron tells Miles that like his dad used to be like he used to be like on the streets, kind of like he
doing graffiti and stuff.
Yeah, doing graffiti and stuff. But then he decided to be policeman.
Throwing up some art.
So throwing up. He Miles goes to Uncle Aaron's apartment. Prowler shows up. But Prowler he fucking found me. And then he calls, or he's on the phone with Kingpin, and he's like, "Oh, I'll get him." And then we get the reveal. Prowler takes off the mask, and it's Uncle Aaron. And
he's like, because he's invisible, and he's like in his face talking to him. Yeah,
because he knows he's there, but he like can't find him. And obviously, like, I mean, if you've like read the comics, this isn't really a big reveal, but like if you didn't know anything about Miles and like his origins and like who Prowler was, like this is probably like whoa,
pretty big
like
reveal.
That's a significant.
Yeah, which also going back to the full circle Donald Glover thing, in the Homecoming movie, the character that Donald Glover plays is Uncle Aaron. He is Aaron Davis. It's like in the movie, like in that scene, like that Donald Glover's in when Spider-Man's interrogating him. He's like,
Never saw Homecoming. Wait, Far From Home?
No, Homecoming.
What's
First one.
is that the first one?
Yeah, the one with
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Is Miles Morales in that one too?
No, Donald Glover's in it. But then
Which is
he's
Uncle Aaron.
yeah, he's Aaron Davis, and then he says in a scene he's like, "Oh, I got a nephew." Like
I got a
so
nephew.
it's like a reference
Something
to.
like that,
Cool. I need to watch that again. It's been a long
So
time.
it's like it's kind of like Marvel, like kind of like putting their like in place, like, oh, we can bring Miles in later, like, but yeah. So Miles sees that Aaron is Prowler, and he's upset, he's shocked, he runs away, and Prowler notices and he sees him with his heat vision, and he chases him, and this is when Miles barely gets away because there's Prowler fucking pulls up on his dank ass hog, and yeah, he's got his sick elephant.
The music's going crazy.
And then there's a car crash. Miles barely gets away. Prowler's up on the roof, like looking down at Miles running away.
Yeah. With that reveal, that's like, it's already obviously really heavy with the fact that that's your uncle who you have a huge connection with, but then that's just another person who you can't tell who's a part of your family.
Yeah.
About your issues with being Spider-Man now, because you can't tell your dad because his dad hates Spider-Man, and now you can't tell your uncle because your uncle tried to kill you.
And your uncle hates Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Also, as a viewer, it carries a toll because it's a Spider-Man movie and that's an uncle, so you just know that it's just gonna go
Not gonna
south.
end well. So we see Penny making a new goober. We get the hilarious fucking Spider-Man Noir, who can only see in black and white, laying on the couch doing a Rubik's cube, and he's like, "Is this purple?" And they're like, "No." And then
Purple's not even on a Rubik's cube.
Yeah.
I don't understand this.
And then yeah, I don't understand this. And then Miles shows up, and then they're like, "Were you followed?" And he says no. And then the doorbell rings, and then Doc Ock's arm busts through the door, and then May says, "Can you take this outside?" And another hit Noir line. We don't pick the ballroom, we just dance. And then
don't pick the ballroom. Oh
a
my
fight
God.
breaks out.
That's so good.
Prowler shows up.
Let me get a refill.
Yeah.
Okay. So who's all the Doc Ock's there, Tombstone's there. We see Scorpion, who Scorpion's design in this movie is so sick. Like, he only speaks Spanish, and then he also has the sick robot Darth Maul legs, like fucking Clone Wars. Prowler shows up. Yeah, he just looks like a robot Scorpion. Prowler shows up. Prowler attacks Miles because he like recognizes him. I think Miles also has the goober at that point. And Peter
because he recognized him. I think he saw that he has the goober on him, and so he's going after him.
Yeah, they're all trying to get the goober. Peter like steps in and protects him. But obviously like Prowler like gets the best of Peter. Miles picks up the goober and runs away. Prowler chases him and like gets him outside and like has him hanging off the edge of the house and is about to kill him. And Miles takes off the mask and he's like, "No, Uncle Aaron." Prowler like he takes off his mask, like, no, like this can't be happening. Like, this is not good. Like, I can't kill you. And
he puts
his mask back on. Or yeah, Kingpin. You hear Kingpin say, "Do it, Prowler. Like, we gotta go. Like, we got him or whatever." And then he puts his mask back on and he's putting him back on the roof. And then you hear a gunshot, and Kingpin shot Uncle Aaron. So Miles takes. So when all the fight broke out, there was a police call. Miles' dad here's a report saying multiple spider people. He's driving over there. Miles takes Uncle Aaron, runs away, and then he swings past Dad. Dad turns around and like starts to follow him. We get Uncle Aaron and Miles to a alleyway. They have a nice like heart to heart. Like, I didn't like. He says like, I didn't. I don't remember everything he says, but I know he says, "You're the best of us, Miles." And
Yeah.
Miles' dad shows up, and he's like, "Freeze!" Miles puts his hands up, and it's just like such an iconic like Spider-Man, like, or just superhero in general. Like, we got the person. It's like a shot of like the mask is like not on. The person behind them is someone that they know that doesn't know that they're Spider-Man or whatever, whoever they are. And Miles goes invisible, um, and runs away. And his dad calls for an APB on Miles, which I don't know what APB means. Like, what is the like acronym for? Like, is it? I mean, it's like all. It's just like basically like everyone like go after this guy, right? Like, or
All points bulletin.
all points bulletin. Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, like, I mean, yeah, like everybody like keep an eye out for. He says, "I want an APB on the new Spider-Man," or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Miles like goes back to his dorm room and he's upset. He's just throwing shit around. Um, the spider people show up there, and then the door starts to open. And they all jump on the roof or on the ceiling, and they're like, his roommate sits down in the chair, and they're just like rolling around, and they're all like moving back and forth. And then they finally sees them, and they say something, and then Spider Ham says, "Do animals talk in this universe? I don't want to freak him out," and then passes out.
That's my favorite line of the whole
Yeah,
movie,
it's
right
so
there.
great.
I love that line.
Spider. So they basically decide like Miles is gonna sit this one out. Like he's not ready. Like he can't do it. They all decide that they're gonna go to the collider, and Peter's gonna stay behind. And Miles is like, no, I can do it. And they all say bye. Um, Peter says, or he says, "Don't make me take it from you." And then he like trips him and like holds him, and he's like, "If you can go invisible right now or shock me right now, you can go." And Miles can't do it, so he like he like webs him up to a chair, webs his mouth, and then or before he webs his mouth, he says, um, "When will I know I'm ready?" And he says, "You won't." He webs him up, webs his mouth, and then they leave. And then Miles' dad shows up, talk to Miles. Miles can't go to the door because he's tied up. Miles' dad is like, something bad's happened. It's just like it's a very like heartwarming like father son moment that I'm sure like a lot of people can relate.
Oh yeah.
Um, I don't remember exactly all the stuff he says, but he's just like, like if whatever you want to do, like you can do it. Like I got your back. Like just
He's basically like, I don't want to drift apart like me and my brother did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, I love you.
Yeah, he
But
says,
he
"I
can't say
love
it
you." You
back.
don't have to say it back though, which is like heartbreaking because like Miles would say it back if he could, like at
Yeah.
that moment.
Also, at the beginning of the movie, he had to say it
Yeah.
back. He was making them
Yeah.
from the car.
And then Miles is just like he's upset. He just sits there. He concentrates. He venom shocks, which is the name of his power, by the way, is a venom shock. It like goes through his whole body, breaks out of the web, and
That's
then
cool.
we get
I also noticed when he was like tied up in the room, it was just one of those like parallel universe things. It was a Chance the Rapper
Yeah.
poster, but he had a full.
there's a
That's the
lot of
battery.
so like when
There's also
Gwen
a Seth Rogen,
Yeah, there's
like
a
this
Seth
is the end or
Rogen
whatever
thing.
poster.
There's like a bunch of the Times Square thing. There's like a John Mulaney Nick Kroll show. There's like
Yeah.
a
Which
clone.
is like Big Mouth.
Yeah. And then there's a Clone College, which is a reference to Clone High, which is a show that like I think somebody that worked on the movie worked on, and then like it's just like this old show that got like canceled, but this is like in this universe it didn't. Like
Yeah.
it's like obviously this isn't our universe, but it is an alternate like Earth.
Similar.
Like I feel like Peter B. Parker is probably the Spider-Man from our universe. I feel like that's the Spider-Man we're stuck with.
Washed up. I want the
but-
pig.
So yeah, so he shocks himself out, and we get fucking What's Up Danger comes on. Like Miles goes to Aunt May's, or he goes to the spider cave, and she's like, "I was wondering when you'd come back." And he finally, like, it's just like a montage of him suiting up. Like he takes the suit, and he's spray painting it, and then we see it's like a reflection of the scene from earlier. Miles looking at the suit, in the reflection, and he's like he sees himself in the suit.
Yeah.
And it's
He's
just
like even with it. He's like parallel
Yeah.
with it this time. He's not below it. He's it's showing that
he
he's
is
like
Spider-Man. Like Miles is
yeah.
Spider-Man. He's ready. This is just such like this is such a dope like suit up scene. Like
Also,
just the
I just want to say, spray painting your clothes does
Yeah.
not work like that.
Yeah.
It does not
What's
work.
Up
So-
Danger?
Yeah.
Such a perfect song.
Yeah, I definitely I teared up a little bit because I was just so proud of him. It was
Yeah.
weird. I was just like, what the fuck?
I mean, I definitely,
Right.
yeah, I definitely, probably the first time I saw this, I probably teared up a little bit, but now I definitely get like very emotional,
You got a bunch of chills, too,
especially
just
with like the part that's coming up, like,
yeah, watching it that
so
scene in theaters.
Right. So
When
like
he
with
jumped.
this costume, I think it's really interesting. Like he's pretty much got forced into the Spider-Man role. So like he goes and buys this costume pretty much, and he doesn't fit into it yet, and he's like forcing himself into fitting into it. And then like at this point, he's like taking on the role of Spider-Man himself. So he's finally fitting into his own Spider-Man
Actual
instead
costume,
of
yeah.
Yeah, rather than trying to fill someone else's place, he's
right.
his own. Yeah.
What's Up Danger still playing. Miles gets up to the top of a building. He's like ready to jump up, do his leap of faith. Miles jumps, but obviously he's still scared. His fingers still stick to the glass, but he jumps with so much force that it breaks the glass off with him. And Miles jumps, he dives. He dives down. The scene inverts to Miles falling up. He's falling down as Miles and ascending up as Spider-Man, and I love it so much. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Just showing that
it's-
he has like he's not like I don't know how to put it in words really, but it's like he's finally rose to the occasion really.
Yeah. And like so there was I think back like after the movie came out, like
Gotta put
there
the
was
words, Rockman.
they released like the script of that scene, and there was like a video of like that scene playing while the script was like going on the screen, and like it says like Miles ascends as Spider-Man, and it's like so like it's true, like he is becoming Spider-Man. And so he's webbing around, he's like doing his shit. There's a part where he's swinging up and he's yelling "woo," which is like a mirror from earlier in the movie when he fell and it said "ah" like down the screen. It says "woo" up the screen now. So then we cut over to the Spider People. They're at Kingpin's place, and he's having a banquet in honor of Peter Parker. Which like they say, oh yeah, what is it? Spider-Gwen says, "What a pig," and Spider-Ham goes, "I'm right here." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's so great.
That seems kind of weird to me that she didn't know that Kingpin was obviously very evil. Like you would think that Spider-Man would have, or like that Peter Parker would have
Well,
told.
she may have.
I think
but,
she did. I
like,
think
yeah.
it was just kind of like she was just doing it like for the public, because like the public doesn't know that Kingpin. The public just knows him as Wilson Fisk. Like, they don't know that he's like this evil
Yeah. Mhm.
dude. So Peter sees this reality's MJ, and he's just like, "Can I get some bread?" And he's just like, "I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you." He's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted some bread." Like, and
Like,
he's-
get that bread.
You
I'll
missed
make
the
you
best
happy,
part there.
basically.
Is because they noticed that
Oh,
all
yeah, they
wearing
noticed they're all wearing-
and Nicolas
Yeah.
Which
Cage
is also
was
still
like,
weird that
it
they
can't be
able
that
to blend.
easy.
Yeah.
And they're like,
He's like, it
"It's
was that easy. Yeah, it was that easy. Yeah, and then so yeah, Peter Parker, he like has this like very weird moment with MJ, like she doesn't know what's going on. And then she was like, "It's just bread." And then Spider People get down, they like break down into they like web the guards, and you hear, and Nicolas Cage is like, "Sleep."
Yeah.
And which I'm not sure. So I think obviously it's just like a reference to like chloroform and stuff in general. But I was reading something somewhere that someone said that might be a reference to, in the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the Green Goblin has this point where he goes "sleep" and he's like spraying like some weird gas, and I wonder if that's like a weird reference to that.
Keep going.
But so the Spider People watch the collider go off, and they go to Peter Parker goes to put the goober in, and then all of the bad guys know they're there. They just like fighting starts. Spider people are getting their booties kicked all over the floor. Um, Doc Ock is like about to kill Peter, and then she's about to like do it, and like her arm it gets stuck, and then she starts hitting herself, and like Peter, like I don't know, it's Miles shows up, and in my notes right here, I put Miles shows up, and I just put let's go baby, and then
Yeah.
it's just like
Go,
Miles
baby.
just starts like kicking ass, like they all start kicking ass. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Peter says something like, "Do I want kids?" Like he realizes like, oh, like he's changed, like he's had growth. Um,
He's kind of like a father to
buildings, yeah.
Miles a little bit throughout this too.
The
Yeah.
collider is like still it goes off again, or it's still going off, and like buildings and cars start coming through, and
Crazy to think about how big this area must be
yeah.
down there if
Well, I think it's like
size buildings are coming through.
I feel like it's also like the beam is like altering reality, maybe. Like I feel like that's got to be like what's happening. It reminded me of there's a level in Spider-Man PS4 game where you get like poisoned or something, and it's like very reminiscent where like there's just like buildings and stuff.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, Luke, were you trying not to get spoilers?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's right. You're good.
So Spider Ham drops a anvil on Scorpion. He's about to kill. Scorpion breaks the robot. He's about to kill Penny. Spider Man drops an anvil on him, and he's like, "What are you, some kind of silly cartoon?" And he's like, "You got a problem with cartoons?" And he like just like him and Noir just like beat him up. Penny's robot's destroyed. She's very upset about it. This part was
Also,
kind of like
Noir definitely killed Tombstone, right? Like he slammed a car into him,
Oh yeah, no, he's
Probably.
dead.
and
and then it never showed him again. So he's gone.
so there
He
was
got
like
arrested at the end.
oh yeah, he did get arrested at the end. You're right.
Oh wait, yeah, he did.
Tombstone?
Yeah, Tombstone. They show like there's like a scene where the police are like getting people, and you see Tombstone in handcuffs.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't see that.
There's
Did Doc Ock get thrown?
during all of this part, like it keeps showing, like I get it, like it keeps showing like between the fighting, it just like flashes over to Penny like mourning her robot, which like I get, but it kind of like I just want to see the fighting. Like I don't really like that
He
much about
definitely
Penny
has that personal
Parker.
connection with everyone.
Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just a piece of shit. But Miles saves Gwen. Um, Miles, Peter, and Gwen to just they triple team on Doc Ock. They're like Gwen says like you strap in like this is gonna take a while, and then she just gets hit by a truck, just like straight up like Mean Girls when fucking what's her face got hit by the bus, like you know what I'm saying.
That'll be in your next movie review.
We should do
don't
Mean
spoil that.
Girls. So they all have their goodbyes, or their no. Miles plugs in the goober, and Kingpin is pissed. Then they all have their goodbyes, and Noir leaves, and he's like, "I'm taking the Rubik's cube. I'm taking this with me. I don't understand it, but I will, or whatever." Um, then Spider Ham or Penny leaves first, then Noir, and Spider Ham says, "That's all, folks." And then Peter Parker says, "Is he allowed to say that legally?"
And
He gives him his hammer.
big hammer.
Yeah, he said, "It'll fit in your pocket."
Yeah.
um, Peter or Gwen and Miles have their moment. Like they're friends. Like Gwen, she's having friends again. Like Miles has like proved himself to be like a good friend. Um, Peter like still is like I'm not gonna leave. Like I'm gonna do this. Like he's basically like I have nothing to go back to. So like why should I? Um,
Is like you got to take a leap of faith.
yeah. So yeah, Miles like trips and grabs Peter like Peter did to him earlier in his dorm room, and
Yeah.
then he just says like it's a leap of faith, and Peter's
Yes,
just
gets
like he gets it, and he lets him go, and he says like good work kid or something, or like
Not bad, kid.
yeah he says not bad kid, and
Yeah.
then I am so glad that they let Miles like have this Kingpin fight like by himself, like
Yeah.
like it's such a big like character. It's like character development,
It's
like
like his final peak transformation
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's like it.
Going back real quick before we get too far off, with Gwen leaving, I'm really glad they let them be friends instead of
Mhm.
trying to force a love story on something like this. Hashtag Finn and Rose Star Wars. Because that would have just been like annoying, and that's all people would have been talking about after this. Was like how like, oh, they were so in love and stuff like this, yada yada. I'm glad they just left it at friends. That just makes it that much better, honestly.
Um,
Continue.
yeah, Miles and Kingpin start fighting. He's basically like, I killed Spider-Man before, I'll kill him again. Like, um, he's about to like, kill him, and they're on the train, and Kingpin's family like an alternate dimension family like glitches in. He like stops because it's just very reminiscent. It's like the exact same as like what happened with Peter Parker. Miles gets away, but Kingpin like gets back to him, and they start fighting. Um, Miles's dad shows up, and he sees what's happening. Um, Miles just like he's just getting beat up, and then Kingpin slams Miles the same way he slammed Peter, and Miles is just like he's down for the count, and it's just it's very sad, very brutal. Um, we hear Miles' dad saying like, "Get up, Spider-Man! Like you gotta get up," and Miles like picks himself back up, and he's obviously still like hurt, but he's like reinvigorated, and he says I don't remember what he says, but he like
Is
touches.
that you ever hear the shoulder touch?
Yeah, he's ever heard of the shoulder touch, and he touches his shoulder and just like shocks the fuck out of.
Hey.
Yeah, he says,
Kingpin
"Hey," which like
watches.
I love the callback. Like I think it's so it's like cheesy, but it works.
Yeah.
It's also kind of like Prowler defeated Kingpin too.
Yeah.
Like even though he was a bad guy, he still kind of helped him win.
Yeah.
Because Uncle Aaron's the one that showed him how to do that.
And
I mean, he didn't show him how to shock people, but you know what I mean.
I'm glad that it was that it was Miles that got to like finish off Kingpin just from like a like Miles watched Kingpin kill Spider-Man. He watched him kill his uncle, so it's like Miles
Had to
like,
avenge him.
needed to get revenge. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the last joke in, like, hey, press the green button for me.
Yeah, he swings him at the button, and
Swings
it
him up, which shuts down the Hadron.
yeah it shuts it down. Then like the whole building just it just explodes and like
Sucked in, and then
Yeah,
like
everything starts going back into its correct dimensions at that point.
Miles' dad like gets up and gets out. Or we see Miles hanging from the web, and then he sees his dad, and then it pans back. Like his dad gets up, and then we see the web, but we don't see Miles. Miles calls his dad, and just like they're like, hey, like he's like, your uncle's died. And he's like, I know. And he's like, I'm so sorry, Dad. And his dad's like, why don't we find you some wall somewhere, and you can throw up some of your and then Miles.
That's also where Miles is like, "Do you know who did it?" And he's like, "I thought I did."
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Yeah. Um, Miles like shows up next to his dad as Spider-Man still, and they're talking. He's like putting on his like deep like, oh, I'm a grown up voice, like, hello, officer, like, and then he says, I love you on accident. Like,
Yeah,
or they hug.
Your work and all
Yeah,
that.
he's
and
like, thanks for the
everything.
great work, and he hugs him, and he says, I love you, and then we.
He tells him to turn around.
Yeah, I turn around, and then it's Kingpin like webbed up, and then it has from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man like in a little like graffiti sticker, and then it's like kind of like a full like 180, like, or not full 180, full circle, back to like the beginning of the movie, like where Spider-Man's walking through the crowd, and everybody's like say, what's up, Spider-Man? Like, good job, Spider-Man. Like Miles like he like fits in again. Um, then we get the one last time for real this time. Like for 2 days, I've been the one and only Spider-Man. Like, and it's just like, and then this is where I finally like tear up again. There's Miles giving his monologue, and he says, "Anyone can wear the mask. You can wear the mask. You didn't know that before. I hope you do now." And like, I'm almost tearing up just saying that. Like, I don't know. Like, that is the reason I love this movie so much, and probably just like superhero movies in general, is like for so many people, it's like you can just like see yourself, like especially Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man is just like he's just a teenager from like just a teenager from New York. Like he's just a regular dude that happens to have like powers. Like, and it's like
Mhm.
Spider-Man's so relatable. Like anyone can wear the mask. Like you can be a hero. Like you don't have like you can like do whatever you want. And
Yeah,
then
which it's like they showed him being relatable through the whole thing, and I'm glad they made it even after he got his powers, after he was able to shut down all of this, they still made him relatable to the very end.
yeah. Um. So yeah, we get, and then I think like after he says that, oh yeah, then we get Miles laying in bed, and you hear Gwen saying Miles, Miles, and
Yeah,
then
it's a
she's
portal.
like, what did she
That's
say? Like,
amazing.
you want to go on an adventure or something? And then I guess like somehow she figured out how to like get to another dimension, and she like takes him with her, and
This opens up so many possibilities for the sequel
yeah,
because you mean they can go to fucking dinosaur Spider-Man, they can do whatever they want, Jetson Spider-Man.
and then that's when the credits roll, and it's the credits are so great. It's just like all these little like different like Spider-Mans, and like there's just like a bunch of little jokes in the background. Um oh no, before the credits. No, it's during the credits we get the Stan Lee and the Steve Ditko memorial. We get the quote from Stan Lee, which also probably makes me tear up, and it
Yep.
says that person who helps others simply because it should or must be done and because it is the right thing to do is indeed without a doubt a real, like it just like Stan Lee was like you don't have to like be a superhero to be a superhero. Anyone can be a hero. You do the right thing, and I don't know. I love Spider Man. There's
A
like
beautiful quote, because didn't Stanley himself say Spider-Man was his favorite?
yeah, I'm pretty sure like Spider Man. Like I think Spider Man was the first hero he created. I think maybe not. That might not be true, but yeah, like it's definitely it's definitely the one that he definitely had the most like personal like like he was most personal with. I think.
Hmm.
The credits keep going. Eventually, we get like the dope Spider Man like pointing meme or whatever, and then we get the post credit scene with Spider-Man 2099, which we it doesn't say. So in the credits, it just says like mysterious person or something.
Yeah, that's it, dude. Why are you pointing at me? I'm not
um,
pointing at you. Pointing at me.
yeah, and then so yeah, it sets up for the sequel. Like oh, like we gotta go the other dimension.
Yeah, and he has a thing that will let him jump to different universes, so that'll be like now they can just do that.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
Yeah. Okay, so overall scores for this movie, should we do 0 to 100 or 0 to 10?
Don't do 100. Do yeah, 10 or 5. Like don't do 100.
Yeah.
Zero,
Okay.
0 to 10.
Zero
I
out
want
of
to go up to 1,000, please.
For me, it's a 10 out of 10. Like
All right.
it's
Well, it was out of 100, so that's really bad. Anyone else?
I'm gonna have to give it a 10 too. Just out of 100, not that great.
I think it's because we said hell at one point. I think.
That ruined it for me. If I'm being honest. But no, I remember after I saw it in theaters, I was like, I could watch that again like right now.
Yeah.
no, yeah.
And
When I saw it in
I don't
theaters,
really ever care to watch it twice.
that was probably one of the first movie, or not. It's probably not the first movie, but it's like the movie that I remember the most. Like after seeing it in theaters, I was like, I want to see this again, and I need to buy this on Blu. Like as soon as
Yeah.
as soon as it came out, I like had to buy it. Like I have to own this movie.
I want to
Yeah.
like tentatively give it a 9.5 just to save room for the perfect movie. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, like honestly, I can't really think of much that I would change. Like, there wasn't anything that I came out watching and I was
mean,
just like, man, I wish they did this. Or
It
I
won
would. I
an
mean,
Academy Award.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I mean, they
Which that
covered
obviously
everything. It
doesn't.
didn't have any extra garbage. I mean, like, it was just all good.
Yeah.
Like, there really wasn't anything
And for
that
a
like that I wish that it had. So,
and
but
for
just
a
in case, just in
movie,
case the second one's better, I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
smart. And like for an animated movie, that's a really big deal to win an Academy Award.
I mean,
Which,
yeah,
granted,
because like
I don't
it's
know a
pretty
whole
much
lot of movies that have won Academy Awards, so don't
pretty much every animated movie that wins like an Academy Award is like whatever movie Pixar put out that
Whatever
year.
Pixar
Always
movie
just Pixar. It's like which this one against The Incredibles 2. Like I haven't seen Incredibles 2. I'm sure it was a great movie,
But I mean, it's
but
not as
like
good as Spider-Man.
it's a Pixar movie. Like this beat Pixar. Like
Yeah, which says a
Well,
lot.
I mean, for me, I just like watching it. I was just honestly blown away at the art style of it.
the
Like
art
that was
style
the
is great.
first time I'd ever seen any kind of like comic book brought to life kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even like with the frame rate of it, like it was intentionally kind of choppy. Like
Well,
it
yeah.
wasn't super.
That's the
Like I mean,
thing.
it was like 18 frames or some
In
shit
the
like that, yeah.
scenes where like Miles and Spider-Man are swinging together, Spider-Man like Miles is like deliberately like less frames than Peter Parker to make him look like he's not as
Yeah,
fluid.
'cause
Like
he's not as
he's
good yet. Yeah, it's like little things like that that they just did. I mean, it's just insane. And just like all the like even in like the fights with like the like all the dimension stuff going on with like the kind of like pop arty looking Dippin' Dots
Yeah.
explosions going on. Like it just looks crazy and it's just so cool. And it's just so different from your generic like Michael Bay explosions. So there you go, Rockman.
That's what I'm here for.
yeah, it's I mean
$3 for nothing.
yeah, I mean I'm just giving it a 10 out of 10 because like I love the movie. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a perfect movie. I'm sure there are people out there that don't like it and
How
That,
about you, Michael?
that's another with the not only the art style, which is one thing I went in worried about, honestly, because I was afraid like it was gonna take me out of the movie. But the art style that they used in it just made it that much better. The way how they used it to their advantage and everything just made it that much better of a movie.
And the soundtrack was just perfect.
great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like all the sound design and everything was just done very well. So it just brought it all home.
Especially
Good-
when it's Uncle
Good
Aaron.
casting, all that was good too.
Yeah.
Nice Stanley cameo, 10 out of 10.
hmm
I think
Yeah,
this
it was
was
a good
his
last
last
cameo.
camp. I think like it
I
was
can't
like
remember.
technically
I
the
think
last.
Endgame-
No, I think it's
didn't
the
Endgame
last thing
come
he
out
recorded. Like Endgame came out after, but I think like the last thing he recorded like was this cameo.
Yeah.
So it says Avengers Endgame is the first thing that comes up, but that may have just been
I
the
think
last
that's
thing
just
that came
because it's the last, yeah, the last on camera. But I'm pretty sure this was the last thing he like.
Yeah.
It's probably a lot easier to record voice than to get him into like.
Yeah.
What Michael, how did what?
I would probably give it a 10 out of 10 as well. Really, everything that you guys pretty much have said is pretty much what I said. I really like animation. I knew about animation for the most part because like
Anime guy.
animation is like one of my favorite things and things. I mean,
Yeah.
I like anime and like I like animation
I mean-
that a lot.
I think-
and when you see a lot of like animated movies, like obviously there's a bigger budget for it, so they can put more effort into it. So it's really nice to see them, like just crazy, especially like not 3D animation, like regular 2D animations, like really.
Yeah.
My text.
I think it's like obviously like this movie and just like I mean obviously like different like anime movies. Like I'm not talking about like a Naruto movie, but like what is it like there's like just different like Studio Ghibli for example like is like a way that like animated movies aren't just for it's like it's like it's an art form. Like just because something's animated, you shouldn't just write it off like because oh it's for kids. Like this movie,
Yeah.
like yes, like kids can watch this movie, but this isn't a kids movie. Like this is a movie for everybody. Like me, a almost 30-year-old man, like I love this movie. I adore it so much.
It's incredible.
It's I can't believe that this
Got a
movie came
9.9
out.
out of 10 from screen time. So
I can't believe this movie came out 2 years ago. Like I feel like it. Like I keep thinking like, oh yeah, I saw this like in December. Like oh, it was December last year. No, this was December of 2018. Like
Yeah. The amount of times I've seen it between then and now
oh yeah.
is uncountable. at this
Sometimes,
point.
like,
it's those movies that I'll
I
just put on if like I just want to have something good to watch. It's something I could put on just to have background noise. I can walk into any moment of it, and I can just start right off from there and keep watching it.
it's also like the colors of this movie are so good. Like
Yes.
it's just
yeah, like all the red and blue pops
yeah,
and
and like
stuff.
like it's like the
classic-
purpley
like,
like
the
blue.
old school 3D kind of like You know,
Yeah.
or like the old school, just like the glitch effect where like you have blue and red on on each side of like a black line kind of thing.
Yeah.
It just makes everything layered. Like, I wonder if you were to wear 3D glasses for this movie, like I wonder if it would do
Yeah,
There
a
might
lot
be
of it
some
seems
parts
like
that
it
would
could
like
be
actually like do
yeah,
something.
they would actually do it. Like with like the old school 3D glasses, like just the
Yeah,
red
that's
and
what
blue.
I asked. Like, did they release this in 3D anywhere?
I don't.
Like, I feel
I'm
like
sure there were some theaters that had it in like 3D, but not like red and blue 3D. Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, like Spy Kids 3D.
yeah, I'm glad they didn't make it to where it's like, oh, you have to see this movie in 3D and like style the animation out of
You got stuff doing that and all that. Yeah, I don't. That's garbage.
past you on the screen and everything. Yeah,
Which
no,
like when
really-
movies do that right, it's fine. Like Avatar, like as much as I like the movie, you know, say what you will about Avatar, they used
Last
3D right
Airbender?
because like it was just part of the movie. It wasn't like, oh, there wasn't a gimmick like Spy Kids 3D of fucking George Lopez like sticking his arm out to like fucking get
Right.
you. Which I forget that George Lopez was the villain of Spy Kids
No,
3D.
Sylvester Stallone.
Oh no, yeah, George Lopez was Shark Boy and
You're
Lava
thinking
Girl.
of Sharkboy and Lava Girl.
Sylvester
Yeah.
Stallone, however,
I forgot.
was
Yeah, I forget that
And-
Sylvester Stallone, Danny Trejo, Steve Buscemi are all in the Spy Kids universe.
Arguably one of the most iconic
Also-
quotes of all movies is
Why-
in Spy Kids
is-
2.
What is he? Do you think God
man.
stays in heaven because he too fears what he's created? We should do We should do the
Fierce is
Spy
their creation.
Kids. We
The
should do
entire
the.
series.
We should do the Spy Kids
Cap it off
series.
with Sharkboy and Lava Girl.
But what am I gonna say?
that was one of Bill Paxton's last roles.
Bill Paxton was in.
He was in Spy Kids 3.
Yeah, 'cause he was
comes in
the-
wearing a
Yeah,
cowboy
he
hat.
was like the dude that's like stands there. Bill Paxton.
Yeah,
Somebody call for the Dinkster.
yes, that's what he's. That was one of his last lines in a movie. Was
Why do you remember
somebody
that?
call for the
Spy Kids
Why do
3
you
came
remember
out
that?
in like 2002.
Yeah, Elijah Wood was in it. Post Lord of the Rings. This was a post Lord of the Rings
Yeah,
Elijah
true,
Wood.
yeah. Well, that's probably why they picked him, because he was the
Yeah.
guy.
I mean, also
It's
like, I didn't realize how young Elijah Wood was. Like when they filmed Lord of the Rings, like he was like early 20s. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Not younger. Anyways, this isn't about Lord
Okay,
of the Rings.
so I'm sorry. Sorry to cut you off again. That was not one of Bill Paxton's last roles. He was actually in a lot of stuff afterwards.
I was about to say that movie's like
That
20
movie
years
is
old.
very old.
Bill Paxton died like 5 years ago, right?
movies though.
Yeah, he died like I think he died like last year. Bill Paxton, like,
Something
When did
kind
he
of
die?
recently.
2017. October
Sure.
2017. I don't know.
Spot a ring for the Dinkster.
Wait, was it actually 20? I don't actually know. I'm just guessing.
so.
So what I meant to say is, it was his last good role. He
Oh.
ever had.
Anyways,
Good.
this isn't a Spy
back
Kids
to-
podcast episode. This is
It can be.
Spider-Man. I mean, it can be. We can just go. We can just start talking about Spy Kids.
Spider-Man.
Spy Kids, man.
Another Dimension Spider-Man.
What
Maybe they'll be in the sequel.
what movie should we do
Let's make this
next?
podcast 30. I'll start.
What are you doing?
I don't like that. What
Podcast 3D.
what should we do next?
Parasite.
Parasite's a great movie.
We can do
Wait. Should we still wrap up Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse? Like, any last thoughts, sort of deal?
Thoughts?
It's a great movie.
Good
yeah,
movie.
I love it. It's
I'm
I mean,
excited for the sequel.
9.9.
honestly like probably
100 out
on
of me.
if I had to rank this like among Spider-Man movies, it's obviously better than every Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield piece of shit that they ever made. They're all those movies are bad. Don't say anything to me. They're all bad. Spider-Man 1's good. Spider-Man 1 is good.
Spider-Man 2 was okay.
Spider-Man 2's all right. Spider-Man 3 hot garbage.
I like the Amazing Spider-Man. I thought
I've
that
only
was
seen the
amazing.
first one. I never saw the second
I
one.
like
It was
Tobey
alright.
Maguire.
I
thought he was
think
a good Spider-Man.
I think
Man,
Tobey Maguire is a better Peter Parker, but
Mhm.
Andrew Garfield was a better Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was too cool as Peter Parker. Like he was like,
hot and he is like
Yeah.
a skateboarder and stuff. He can't be a lame nerd.
yeah, you can't have fucking Andrew Garfield. Like I'm gonna believe that he's a fucking nerd. No, like
Yeah.
get me
Yeah,
to play
that
Peter
kid- the
Parker.
kid's not get, he is the bully. You know, he's
Yeah.
not getting bullied. Kid's
Um,
hot.
But I don't know where I would rank this. Like Homecoming, honestly, like I love Homecoming is probably one of my favorite
Probably
Marvel
the best live
movies.
action Spider-Man.
still
Far
haven't
From Home
seen
is good. But
I
Homecoming
never
is
saw that one. I never saw
you guys
Far
should
From
watch
Home.
it.
should
Um,
definitely watch that.
It's a good one. I own
Yeah,
it on
that's
my
like the
Xbox.
first Endgame follow up stuff.
Yeah, it's like
right?
it's the first one that came out after Endgame.
Damn, what am I doing?
I like the little trading cards they gave at the theater.
Yeah, I
With
still
some
have some
stuff
of
there.
mine. Those are so cool.
Yeah.
I think I've been only an AMC theater thing.
Trading cards, yeah.
They're like little like cards. Like I think AMC gave them out. I have them in the other room.
I
could go grab some,
I do
but
too.
it's just
I'll
like
make
you
that
could
real
get
quick.
like there's like cards for all the characters. I think I have like 2 packs because
I'm gonna
we're all
grab 'em,
both
I'll be back.
Spider Pig or of Spy Kids?
of Spider-Man.
Yeah, the last trading card I got at a movie was
Ancient Mew?
Yu-Gi-Oh! In
Mew.
I thought you were saying
2004.
Ancient Mew.
I got Ancient Mew.
I never
never
saw
got-
Yu-Gi-Oh movie in theaters because I wasn't that much of a freak.
Yeah, me neither.
Um,
I walked out
but
of
yeah, like
another movie.
honestly, like this, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it came
cool.
with this and yeah, it must have just been an
Yeah, I've
AMC
got,
thing, but the cards were like
a Spider-Gwen.
that. There's a old Spider-Man. I got Tombstone.
I like that.
and
I wouldn't have
Kingpin.
known his name. I just called him Silverman with the Deagles.
Yeah, I didn't remember his name. I had to like look.
Like the Spider-Man one's really cool.
Yeah, it's just a cool little like. It was like 2 or 3 cards.
If we're flexing,
I don't have anything.
I have
Yeah,
I have this. I have a Spider-Man PS4 Funko bobblehead.
Dude, I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm about to start Spider-Man
Should-
tonight. I'm excited to
shit.
play that
You
game.
should play it. It's honestly like I mean,
Ryan,
I know you
Ryan
wanna-
told me I have to be God of War first though.
Spider-Man is it won't take you very long to beat Spider-Man. Like in like even 100%, like I got the 100%, it didn't take me. I mean, I also played it like nonstop like for like a few days. Like I lived and breathed and ate
Well,
Spider-Man.
I don't have school until next week, so I
you
got
gotta
time.
play you gotta play Call of
Plenty of
Duty,
time.
Luke.
That's true. Got to get those dubs.
What
Should we ask
so
audience what we should watch next?
yeah,
what's-
audience, what do you think? What do you think, Ruben? What should we watch?
Is Ruben in
next?
chat?
Yeah, Ruben's in chat.
Hey, Ruben. My chat's
Somebody.
weird. I haven't seen any messages in chat.
I've only seen Ruben messaging, and I feel like he's talking to somebody that's there.
Ryan said
I gave some
something
bits and there's no notification.
earlier, but I mean,
Yeah.
so honestly, like my initial like thoughts for next movie, these would be easier for me because they're at HBO
Spirited
Max. Yeah, Spirited Away or like any Ghibli movie. Honestly, I'd love to do Spirited Away.
I
Love
would love to
Princess
see Spirited
Mononoke.
Away because I saw it
I
in
haven't
theaters
seen a Ghibli movie.
first
You've
and
never,
last
Michael,
time.
you've never seen a Ghibli movie?
I have not.
Oh, we gotta do Spirited Away.
Michael?
We're gonna
Wait, Michael,
we got,
you've never seen a Ghibli movie?
Michael
I've never
Michael
seen a
Weeb
Ghibli.
Vincent.
I've seen like some of Ponyo. Like I've seen like bits. and
Ponyo's
clips
so
of
good.
Dude, Michael, yeah, you would love Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away.
We
Those are
should-
both
Where
so
can I
You
good.
should watch
them at?
Spirited Away. Should be your
Uh,
first one.
That's
Pirate
true.
Bay.
Where
Go to a
can I
pirate
watch
website.
these at?
Grave of the Fireflies.
They're on
it's not
HBO
Miyazaki,
Max.
but
I need HBO
it's
Max.
gonna make
You
you
might
cry.
be able to
Grave
rent
of the
them.
Fireflies is so sad.
You might be able to rent them off Amazon, possibly.
I might.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, let's do Spirited Away.
Oh yeah,
So, question:
Yeah,
do I
then that'll
watch
give me
Spirited
an
Away
excuse
or
to watch
not?
it.
Because I saw Spirited Away in theaters the day it came out as a young boy with my mom and 2 other people in that theater, and that was it. And I haven't
that's the
seen
only
it
time you've
since.
seen it since then. You should. I think
Definitely watch it again.
I haven't seen it in a while, but it's a great movie. You should definitely watch it again.
That is, yeah, that's one of my favorite
All
movies.
right, I'm
So-
down to do Spirited
It's
Away.
gonna be another 9.5 probably.
So do you guys want to try to do again next? Can you,
Yeah,
Rob,
Whatever
you know
works
your
best.
you know your
Tentatively-
schedule,
Tuesdays
Rob?
usually good for me.
Yeah, I don't know
Weekends are would
What?
be best.
who you asking.
Michael, what'd you say?
I said whatever works for me. Sundays are usually pretty okay.
I guess Rob, you don't know your schedule yet.
I start Monday, but I mean I obviously don't have to go to work on Sundays. So
I can try and see about getting like Sunday nights off or
it's
something.
coming
Oh my
to an
God.
end.
Laurel made her Twitch name girl with 4 names, but her last name 4.
I hate you guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's hilarious. She said
I
School
need
of
to
Rock.
watch School of
That we
Rock
should do
again.
School of Rock.
Ooh, we could do
I
School
would
of Rock.
love to do School of Rock.
I don't even need to rewatch that movie. I remember everything.
Me and Luke quoted that movie word for word one time in
We
high
screamed at Miss Franklin.
school.
You're
Quote.
tacky and I hate you.
We screamed
You're
quotes at her.
tacky and I hate you.
Oh my god.
We
yeah,
can.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm cool with.
yeah,
I'm cool with School of Rock. And cool
We
with Spirited
should let's
Away.
do Spirited Away, and then we can do School of Rock next week.
Yeah.
Let's or do you want to break up the animated movies?
Yeah. Let's do School of Rock next. I got a lot to say about that
Where
one.
can I watch that? I'll probably just rent it out.
It is on HBO
Well,
Max. by way
the
you guys
show
know.
I think is on Netflix.
Oh,
Is it?
Hey.
So
Yeah,
Luke.
don't watch that.
Spencer, is it still
Okay.
light outside where you are? Like
I
very,
mean, it's
Yeah,
Like,
brother.
the
very
sun's
bright?
setting, yeah.
it's not that light here. I guess I'm more.
It's pretty dark here. Like this
Yeah.
is without my light.
I guess we're more east.
It's basically nighttime.
Yeah. I mean,
This is
in
where
like 30 minutes or an
my
hour.
my
45
lights get here
minutes.
tomorrow, so I'll be
If
able
I
to
turned
look
my
like
lights
I'm
off, I'd be
hot.
in the dark. Lights look awesome.
Yeah, dude, they look so good. I'm excited to get mine tomorrow.
All right, so
I need to get some little key lights though.
the next
That my face
episode
can be
will be
the right color.
School of Rock, correct? That's the final.
Yeah,
decision?
I'm cool with that.
I don't know when exactly we'll do it. I guess it'll
An 11 out of 10.
will
Obviously.
depend on Rock Band's schedule. So I can do whenever. I mean, I can literally like any night. I can do any night. Like I'm fine. So I mean, I don't know about Spencer. I think Luke can probably do any.
Pretty much every night.
Could we do Saturday night instead of Sunday
I
night?
mean, I think. I
For
mean, it
this
just
next-
depends on if Rock Band. I mean, I guess Rock Band doesn't have to be. I would like for
Yeah.
Rock Band.
Yeah. I mean, I want him to be there. Wait, Rockman, do you work on Saturday?
Beats me.
He doesn't know
Okay.
yet.
Try not to work on. Hey, 'cause, I mean, Cameron's going out of town this weekend,
Okay.
and so I mean, so Sunday night, like she gets back Sunday, so like we might be hanging on Sunday. So if we can do it Saturday, then that would be ideal. But if not, we can do Sunday because then I can just say, oh no, it's our weekly podcast. So, I mean, no
Cam
exception.
could jump in the podcast too.
No exception. That's true. Girl with 4 names, number 4.
All right, I gotta get off, boys.
Tell Laurel I love it.
All
Evan.
right.
That's so funny. I love it.
All right. Later, everyone.
Oh,
Anyways,
I might
Rock
not be
Band.
able to do Saturday.
Huh?
I forgot I can't do Saturday probably.
Yeah. Let's just do Sunday. Yeah, we'll do Sunday again. Just
We'll
yeah,
figure it out closer
keep
to
up
it.
the schedule. Schedules.
We'll figure it
schedules are
out.
good.
I mean, it'll. But,
Yeah.
yeah. So
We got to make sure the fans know.
thanks. Oh man, Rock Band leaving messed up my little name thing. It's gonna look weird on the stream, but it's okay. I guess we'll end it here. Thanks for
Yeah,
stopping by, everybody. Thanks for joining me, boys.
That's fun.
Can't wait
Had
to
a
do
good
this
time.
it was
again.
fun.
So yeah, we'll see you guys next week. And until then, keep watching.